Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Where we continue to follow the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden now.
Those are just some of the scenes overnight as thousands of Americans gathered in celebration of Osama bin Laden's death.
Former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill says he has thought about the mission every day since that May Day in 2011.
For multiple conversations you had with Rob O'Neill over the past year and a half, how'd you get
access? And you described that his head kind of exploded when you hit him.
I actually hit him 3 times because I shot him twice when he was standing and once on the ground.
That is the fucking American badass right there.
Go, go, go. We are not going for fame and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
I'm Rob O'Neill, and this is the Operator Podcast. Okay, here we go. And welcome back to the Operator Podcast. Thank you for sticking with me. I skipped a week. I like to release these on Wednesdays. The last one I released was episode 89 with General Tony Tata, which was a great episode. If you haven't checked it out, still do that. And I did record episode 90 with John Weiber, who's from News Updates for Real. And if you don't follow him, by the way, follow him. Hilarious, awesome adventures, great dude. What we did is went to a new studio in an undisclosed location. It was going to be my first on-camera, in-person interview on the Operator Podcast because he and I got into psychedelics. We did some DMT at an undisclosed location and then discussed what happens during and after on a great podcast. We had a lot of fun. But because the studio's new and all that stuff and where we were, we're still piecing together stuff to get the audio ready. I'll have some stuff out, but I don't know if there will be an episode 90. This is episode 91 of the Operator Podcast. 90 we're working on, might be the one that never was. We'll find out. I'll get you snippets and whatnot. But yeah, John Weiber's awesome. News Updates for Real. Check that out. This one today is going to be episode 91 of the Operator Podcast, and it is Wednesday, April 10th. And we have a lot of stuff to discuss. I actually, again, I do have some notes. I do some research. I do that crap a lot. And I don't necessarily have an itinerary. I can actually, as I'm doing this, hear a screaming baby. How dope is that? Yep. But we're gonna bounce around a couple things because the week that I was supposed to release episode 90, I was traveling quite a bit, travel chaos, if you will, which we'll definitely cover that first. That'll be fun. I went down to South Carolina. I went down to Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, which is completely badass. I did see the President Trump. I saw a lot of great people there, a whole bunch of fun. Ran into some Navy SEALs there, all that stuff. Great pool, beautiful weather, great food, travel. Like I said, I'll get into that. It'll be fun. But this is officially episode 90 of this is officially episode 91 of the Operator Podcast. So that's what we're going to do today, and there's a myriad of topics to talk about, all the current event stuff. I know you're sick of politics. I'm sick of politics, so we'll do our best to try to get away from that. It was awesome was March Madness that ended. I mean, it's not awesome that it ended, but it was awesome to watch. Good stuff there, which I think I might get into. It's part of my notes because I like to find interesting tidbits and whatnots and odd news, or actually the way I look at it is if you don't make everything complex and keep simplicity to it, you can find out what's actually going on, who's going to gain what to follow and the like. So I do have some interesting picks on everything from women's basketball to just bridges getting run into again, almost or whatever, and doors flying off airlines. I mean, it's no longer a question of if something is coming. It's just when. The only shock that's we've seen everything, since the summer of love 2020. The only shock's going to be what it is. Your gut, your instincts, the feeling you've had that something ominous is on the way. And all of this is true. But what are you going to do about it now? While you still have some control. I always talk preparation. Preparation. The first step to staying prepared is go to my website, preparewithrob.com. Your next step is stocking up on multiple 1-week emergency food kits from My Patriot Supply. Priced under $50, there's no better time than now to buy in bulk. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you prepare. As the original Patriot company, they've helped over 2 million families ready themselves. These 1-week kits with ready hour foods provide over 2,000 calories every day, and they are sealed in rugged ammo cans so they can last up to 25 years in storage. You can grab an ammo can and go when the crisis comes, which it will. I have them in my basement. I've sent them to my family all over the country. You got to get them. You can get these kits for under $50 this week only at preparewithrob.com. So go grab them at preparewithrob.com. Stay prepared with My Patriot Supply. Preparewithrob.com. But yes, this is officially 91, episode 91 of the Operator Podcast. It is Wednesday. It is April 10th, year of our Lord 2024. Very excited to be here because I'm finally definitely releasing this one. In this kick-ass studio, the audio and the video always works. There's no way this is going to fail. 2 is 1, 1 is done. But it was an interesting week because we filmed it last week. We did the psychedelics, and then I went on a little road trip, which was exciting. I had a speech down south in South Carolina, which is awesome. Great people down there. And then I went down to Mar-a-Lago, which I'm assuming you've heard of. And that's my first time in Mar-a-Lago, and it's awesome. And Florida's awesome. But that's it's in the heat of the debate about did Donald Trump overestimate his property? And I mean, the short answer is no. That place, I mean, it's on the beach. When I was there, the water was insane. The water was beautiful. The beaches are pristine. A lot of private beaches, obviously, but there are condos there worth multi-million dollars. This place is sprawling. It's gorgeous. The pool is awesome. The pro shop, the gift shop is just fun. There was so many good people there. I ran into Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Vivek Ramaswamy. I did talk to Donald Trump, which is always a good time. And even if you're on the left side and you don't like him, if you're given a chance to talk to him, I do assure you would enjoy it. We had fun. I brought my sister Chris down there. We flew around. See, that's part of it too, because we were able to get into. For some reason now, the further we get in life, the more progressive we get. It seems like because of progressive things, a lot of our shit gets way worse. Because it seems to me remember back in the day when maybe, well, shit, who am I BSing? I don't. I sort of do, but back in the day when people in coach got a full meal on a flight and there was actually room for stuff. And yes, you had to read a magazine because your poor little sensitive face didn't have in-flight Wi-Fi or whatever. But, emergency exits weren't flying out and wings weren't falling off. And now we're in 2024. And it just seems like everything's falling apart, and it's got to be for a reason and all that stuff. But I was able to see some of it firsthand. But first, at Mar-a-Lago was great. I ran into my friend Jeff Gum, Sunga Life, In Rust We Trust Crypto. I'm not name dropping. I'm just saying what kind of an atmosphere. Everyone was dressed great. The food was awesome. It was fun. I was able to speak for maybe 10 minutes, get in front of everybody and kind of fire them up. I was actually there with Border 911, which is a foundation where it's a 501c3 that's raising money to build a border wall, because it seems like we don't have one. And I was there with Armed Forces Brewing Company because we had some beer we brought by, and we decided because we don't have enough assets in this country to build a border wall, because obviously we got to save money and stuff. We can give it out to all the illegals crossing from God knows how many countries. We got to make sure that their rooms are tidied up at the 5-star hotels we put them up in, and make sure those debit cards that we give them are chocked full of cash. But Armed Forces Brewing Company partnered up with Border 911. Actually, they're this week down at Eagle Pass building a no-kidding wall of beer. We've got the People's Lager, Preamble, and Special Hops. They're building it there, And actually, as Armed Forces Brewing Company's down there in Texas, not in Mar-a-Lago, in Texas, they're going to make sure, along with some local businesses, get some barbecue to the National Guard, who's actually down there too. Again, I don't want to get into the back and forth of why the National Guard's there and Governor Abbott and whatever reason the Obama-Biden, did I say that? The Biden-Obama administration is letting all these people come through. I don't want to get into that because, again, it's not the wall. It's going to be the policy, but the policies suck. Someone's doing something on purpose. They're down there with get a load of this. What I was told was the National Guard that's down there, and there's a lot of them down there, there's enough funding for them to get one hot meal a week. And I'm not sure what those numbers are from because I don't believe numbers anymore because, they'll tell you right now that whenever someone gives an estimate, we're spending between 1.5 billion and 4.5 billion. It's like, well, what is it? But they're saying there's not enough money to feed the troops, but there's enough money to. Anyway, I was down at Mar-a-Lago for that. Armed Forces Brewing Company is awesome. If you haven't checked them out, definitely check out the People's Lager. I dug that. But the fun part. You know what else was crazy was there was allegedly an eclipse for somebody in the world. I actually got a sun hat. I don't know if you saw the picture. I posted it. I got a sun hat because I was going to go outside and just have, I wasn't going to stare at this. We're actually at a place in time in 2024 where we need to tell people, now don't stare at the sun. Where we need those, like in Roadhouse, there should be a sign above the urinals, don't eat the big white mints, where it literally says, don't drink the kerosene. Caution, coffee is hot. And that's all to avoid lawsuits. Kids eat Tide Pods. Remember that crap? Yeah, that's a thing. I don't even remember where I was going with. Oh, yeah, the eclipse. I heard some people on the news saying, and again, the 24-hour news cycle is difficult because you need to constantly come up with crap because you got to say crap to keep crap on. Like when 24-hour news first came out, people thought it was never going to work because who wants to listen to the news 24 hours? It turns out if you do, from personal experience, you're going to be pissed off all the time. But you're always coming up with crap to say and whatnot. And one of the things I heard someone on a news station say, well, the border's very nervous about this eclipse that's coming up because it's going to be pitch black for 4 minutes, and they're wondering how many migrants are going to rush across, right? Or they could, I don't know, wait till the sun goes down and they have night all night. But that's neither here. So we're down to Mar-a-Lago, and I gave a thing, and then we wanted to fly back. And like I said, everything's getting worse. I only spoke shortly because I actually did get sick. And I hate getting sick. I love to show up to places and have a good time. I'm all about having a good time. And sometimes when I'm on stage and people want to get a selfie, and that's cool. I love getting selfies. I did run into people that knew me in the airport, and that's always fun. But it's one thing to take a selfie. It's another thing to wait for a dude who's puking in the bushes to get done to get a selfie. And that actually happened. I'm not going to say who that was, but that happens. So there was like the eclipse. And, the earthquake, I think. No, and all this happens because I guess the eclipse or whatever it was, don't stare at the sun, everybody. The eclipse went over New York, and the earthquake, I guess, was in New York, and it was nothing, but because it's in New York, it's everything. Because if you watch the news, if you've noticed, the media's in New York. And if you sort of watch enough, they only really talk about New York, and occasionally they'll say, like outside the Beltway, which is D.C., not New York, but who gives a shit? But then let's the flyover states, and here's your 30 seconds of what's going on in Normal, Illinois, or Butte, Montana. But that's just what the 24 hour. They're always coming up with shit to do. I was talking to my brother Tom O'Neill, and we were coming up with news of our own. And Tommy's up there at KAAR FM. If you haven't got that app, get that app. And he had a good joke. He said, well, there was like an earthquake and an eclipse that didn't do anything. He's like, shit, I did worse at a 7-Eleven bathroom. I went and dropped a deuce and it blasted the lights out. That was more than 5.4 on the Richter. And he told me that was a bad joke, but it wasn't. Actually, that wasn't my brother. That was my father that said that to Tom O'Neill. Tom O'Neill said that. My dad said that. Shit. I just gave my brother a joke. I gave my brother credit for a joke my dad said. So sorry to you both. But great joke. My dad told me that it was a joke that he wrote, and he wished he didn't because it was that bad. And I'm sure I screwed it up, but you get it. It's funny because gas station crap and blowing out the light bulbs, that's just funny. And so we decided if something's good, write it down. If something's bad, write it down twice because you might need to remember or whatever. That's a good joke, though, I think, somewhere. I shouldn't have said 7-Eleven. We have Town Pump in Montana. So I'm screwing this joke up. It's obviously not mine. I'm just trying to I'm going to get back to where I was. So we're leaving West Palm Beach. That's the airport you fly into to get to Palm Beach, except this is in the west, and then the rest is east. There's actually a flight that I'm a fan of. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Westchester County, New York has a direct flight to West Palm. That's where the snowbirds go. You go to Florida, you go to Arizona. The snowbirds from New York go down to Florida. And they call this flight in Westchester County Airport, HPN, they call it the Miracle Flight. And nowadays that could mean a number of things, right? But the Miracle Flight is there because I asked him why it's a miracle. And he's like, well, because when you get on the airplane in Westchester County, there's about 15 to 20 wheelchairs that are lined up of people getting on the plane. When you land in West Palm, there are 0 wheelchairs. It's a miracle. So I was trying to leave. I had a friend who got done throwing up in random potted plants and sewers and the like. And don't worry, he was not wiping his mouth with his tie. But all I had to do was get home. And that seems simple. Get on a plane, Palm Beach, and fly. Well, here's what went down. We got there, and actually TSA was awesome. They were really good. Biff, bam, boom. Got through that. I found my gate. It was simple. 2 hours early. You hopefully get a meal you can keep down. My breakfast that morning consisted of a huge bottle of water and a bunch of those little airport Pepto-Bismol pills. And I chilled, and then I got on. And one of my favorite things about flying, and this can happen, if you get upgraded to first, or if you buy first, or you work first class stuff, there's ways out there you can get into first. That's awesome. But what's even more awesome is when you get on a plane and there's a bed seat. Now the bed seats are, I don't care where you're flying. I actually had a bed seat once from New York to Boston. Yes, because it's going to Boston because it's going to go overseas. So I had a bed seat. I had a bed on a flight for 7 minutes. That was cool. But I got on the flight, I think it's seat 4D, and my bed seat, I'm cool passenger next to me. They serve they give you the offering of, a water and sparkling wine, which is dope. I took the water because I puking up sparkling wine sucks balls. And so I'm laying in the seat, and they said, well, here's the thing. We have one seat that won't come up to front lean arrest, whatever they call it in the flight attendant biz. And they said FAA regulations, you need to have all the seats work or the plane can't take off. And that's for different physics reasons and whatnot. And the federal government's involved. So it's legit. Anyway, they said the seat that won't come up is 4D. And I'm like, well, that's me. What gives? And they said, well, your seat won't. And I'm like, I didn't even notice because it's a bed seat. It's already sort of reclined. You got the thing on my iPad out and everything. I got the puke bag in my holster, all that. And now they're trying to fix it. I got mechanics all over me, and they're trying to fix the seat. Now, we're in Florida, and there are families on board, and there are people that want to get home, whatever, and they can't fix the seat. Long story short, not fun. And they said, we're looking for a volunteer who will take a voucher and hop off the plane. And so what their plan is, they're going to get the someone from Coach off the plane, give them a voucher and some food tickets and whatnot, and they're going to put me in the coach seat. But I'm looking back, I'm like, they want to get home. There's another flight leaving in like 2 hours. I volunteer, cool. And some people even say, hey, great job, whatever. And I get off the flight. The flight takes off, no avail. So I get off, and then my flight, the second flight I'm on, starts to delay. And it delays and delays and delays. And delays happen. Expected in airports, it's fine. The restaurant there is great. The service is great. I'm hanging out. The dry heaves are almost like contractions, except going the opposite direction. Instead of almost puking every 15, it's like 17 and a half. Whatever, but the flight delays and delays. Finally, the flight's ready to rock and roll. I'm not even kidding, like 7:30 p.m. now. My original flight was 10. This one's 7:30 p.m. I'm trying to get on, And I hand it to the woman, and she hits it on the thing. I have a paper receipt, boarding pass, 'cause I had to get it reprinted, whatever. I'm not getting into that. Because it's 2024, and you can't have one on your mobile device. What are you, crazy? So she hits the thing, and it beeps, and that funky beep, like the one you'll hear like if you're in exit row or whatever, which is very unsafe now on airlines because that thing will blast off halfway through your crappy little Pepto pills. And she says, well, this boarding pass is invalid, and it's a first-class boarding pass. And as we're doing this, I'm looking at the upgrade list, and she's like, upgrades 4 dudes in front of me. And I'm like, I legitimately bought a first-class ticket. And she goes, yeah, but you volunteered to get off your last one. I said, well, yeah, because the family's in the shit and the shits. And she said, well, she said, who was your gate agent that gave this to you? I'm like, she was here 8 hours ago. I don't know. And she goes, well, what'd she look like? I'm like, first of all, I can't say because I've been in trouble for saying shit before, like what someone looks like, and you can't do that. And so she says, well, and I'm like, well, you work with her. Who was, whatever. She goes, well, here's one for that flight. So I'm like, whatever. It's one gate down. It's supposed to leave in 30 minutes. And so I go over there and I lay down. People are in line. And here's another thing, too. We are herd animals. And I'm amazed how it's always the same thing. I'm guilty of it, and so are you. So let's not pretend we're better than everyone else. Even though I'm talking to you, we are better. People just line up in the hall, and we're not, and even if they try to, like, we're the same people they tell us not to eat the big white mints in the urinal. And they say if you're in, boarding group 3 through 7, just remain comfortable. It's like remain comfortable like your grandma on Zoom during COVID. Just remain comfortable and your kids can see you or whatnot. But everyone stands there, whatever. And we're all in line. My puke smelling ass is there ready to get in line, whatever. Like it's past time to take off. We haven't started boarding. It's about 9:30 p.m. And I asked someone, I'm like, why aren't we boarding? And they go, well, everything's ready except for one thing. I'm like, what's that? And they go, oh, 2 things. We can't find the pilots. So at this point, I'm a big believer in sometimes your first loss is your best loss, and you just cut it when you can. I'm on loss number 12 at this point, not including puking at the former president's house. It's like, you know what? I look. Marriott doesn't let me down. I know there's a courtyard here. I'm gonna go out, find a Marriott, sleep it off, and the next day, whatever. And that worked out fine. And it was, it is nice to get to a Marriott and get your coolie little waters. You wake up to a breakfast, and then West Palm, no drama this time. So I took off, got home, which is great. But the point I'm bringing up is because I talked about bridges getting hit. Because just recently we had the one in the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Philly got crushed, destroyed. And that's kind of weird because Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem. And there's a lot of problems with that lately because of some of the algorithms that countries that don't like us have put into some of our, social media stuff that celebrities are paid for to endorse, like TikTok. I won't mention who they are, but they get us to hate each other. And they get us to be mad at each other. And it's almost like someone's trying to, because the national anthem's obviously bad and that gets destroyed. And then another one hits a thing and almost hits one in New York. But the safety anchors and the tugboats worked. It's like these boats and ships have been doing this for a while. Since before flight. And now all of a sudden we're losing power. Now we're tearing bridges down. It's 2024, man. We're having arguments over, we're just rehearsing for the election because, man, in 2020, we couldn't believe the amount of bomb threats and anthrax and pipe bursts and yet we're the only, I was actually looking up today countries that require ID, and no kidding, from A to Z, Argentina and Botswana. Yeah. Was on to Zimbabwe, all require ID. But there was one that wasn't on that list that doesn't require ID. It's weird, but it's almost like this stuff is on purpose because weird stuff is happening. What's going on with when have you, other than like we lost our minds during the lockdown? I won't say COVID. I'm going to get into that eventually. Just the World Economic Forum, one world order, deep state. And China is involved with a disease we can't talk about, and you just trust the science. We all lost our minds, but everything before that seemed all right. And now it's what the hell's going on? right? Bridges and boats? Come on, man. But that's what it is. It's almost like it's like the whole, that stupid saying, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Bullshit. If you can be comfortable, be comfortable. And if you can sleep for 8 hours, do it. And if you can eat now, eat. If you got to puke, there's a sewer. Knock it out. Tie. You're good. But you got to kind of wonder what's going on and why is this happening. I'm not trying to point fingers necessarily anywhere, but we are to a point, like I mentioned, with we stopped telling the truth a long time ago, because the people that actually busted their asses for this great country, that put a lot of stuff on their backs and made this a great place for you to grow up and your kids to grow up, that fought in some great wars that were legitimate for real reasons, and they didn't care what each other looked like. They did what was right. They told the truth. They worked hard. They took care of their families. They put food on the table. And all Dad wanted was, what did Chris Rock say? All Dad wants was the big piece of chicken. But now we can't tell the truth because we're told telling the truth is wrong. And what do we care about now? Our feelings. Just our feelings. We don't. I talked about preparation earlier, and it's I love your feelings. I don't want to hurt your feelings. However, when it comes to the 200 of us in this magical metal tube flying through the air at 38,000 feet, you know who I want up front if they show up? The two most qualified people. I don't care what they look like. Do you? You shouldn't. You shouldn't even have to ask that. Are you qualified to do it? There's a video that's circulating right now, and again, it's April 10th, and it's going to be debunked. It's real. We just don't know. I don't know. Whatever. You probably know by now. It's of an airline captain who happens to be a white woman, and she is seen talking on what we would call the 1MC. But, you've heard it before. So, well, obviously, we've reached 38,000 feet, and please enjoy your Clams Casino. But she's there in like civilian clothes and a hat. She came out of the cockpit. Allegedly, she was the captain. And I'm assuming what happened is the first officer, who's the co-pilot, said, look, you can't fly like that. You have to, whatever. So she got on the thing and I guess during the rant, you can hear her saying, so she starts talking about, well, if you want me to fly the plane now, I can let him fly it because he's a man. Or I can fly it like this in these clothes, or I'm spitballing here, or I can go get my cute little outfit on and then I can fly it or what. And it's like, first of all, honey, it's not a cute little outfit. It's called a uniform because we are uniformity because we're the ones, these people paid money to trust us to get them and this big magical medical tool with flying Wi-Fi to their destination. And then she got into her horrible divorce she's going through. And then she starts talking politics. And you hear people, trying to get off the plane. You hear that old boom, boom. The plane hasn't taken off yet, whatever. So she's a captain. She can fly a plane. Is she qualified? And by qualified, I don't mean, does she know how to fly it? What I mean is she capable? Is she the person who takes a deep breath when she hits that turbulence at 38,000 feet? Or is she the person that freaks out because she's getting a terrible divorce and doesn't give a shit about you, right? Has nothing to do with what she looks like. Is she competent? That's why we have what's called upkeep. That's why we take tests that are real. That's why we don't, look around at what schools are doing to people right now. What do you think the answer should be? Bullshit. 2 + 2 is fucking 4. And you better wrap your... The truth is coming. And they're not nice. And again, this is not the first time. I flew Egypt Air. Yeah, it's a thing. I flew Egypt Air from Italy to Cairo, Egypt in 1999. A week later, and I'm not looking at this, I'm just remembering, Egypt Air had a plane crash after taking off out of JFK. Allegedly, one of the pilots left and the other one plunged into the ocean while saying Allahu Akbar. Okay? Not the guy I want flying the plane. The Malaysian flight vanished. Now, because of, the eclipse, it's all aliens and the Illuminati and those magical 8-foot beings that created the portal in Central. I'm not going to get into that crap. It's fascinating. This is the shit you see on the gram at 2:30 in the morning when your daughter finally fell asleep. But I'm talking about competence. I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about telling the truth and not even offending anyone. You should be able to back it up with fact. You can't. You're not allowed to back anything up with fact because what do? They call you a racist. They call you a name. They call you something phobic. The problem with that too is it's called that so much that no one even bats an eye. Remember the boy who cried wolf? They stopped coming because it's not real anymore. The point I'm making here too is it's about competence. In 2015, you might not remember this. There was a plane taking off, an Airbus A320 from German. It was Germanwings flight 9525 from Barcelona to Dusseldorf. Okay, and there's a very experienced pilot on board, and there's a 27-year-old co-pilot. And I think he was definitely having some issues somewhere, but nobody caught it. Now, this is a 27-year-old white European dude. Say, the point is, I don't give a shit what you look like. If there's a slot for we need 5 awesome fighter pilots, and there's 200 pilots in line to get it, and the top 5 happen to be women from India. Hire those 5. I'm not going to get offended. Can she do the job? Perfect. That's all I want. So this 27-year-old white European dude, he's having a problem at home. The experienced pilot gets up, goes to the bathroom, and, do you remember, again, knee-jerk reactions to things? Stuff that's not real, but we'll just try to get ourselves into a false sense of security by lying to ourselves. Because lying is easy. Because does it make you feel good? How are your feelings? Well, there was a major terrorist attack on Tuesday, September 11, 2001. And the cockpit doors were not reinforced, and we know what happened. So the reaction was the barricaded doors, which you see now with the, there's a little mouse hole, and you can't get in, impenetrable. Problem solved, right, wrong. Now we got a pilot in there who's crazy, and where does the captain go? Well, he decides he's going to go to the bathroom. What does the crazy co-pilot do? He locks the door alone. Yep, flying over the Alps in Europe. And he's not going to let anybody in because he's crazy and he's suicidal. The problem is there's 150 souls on that plane, and this guy's crazy and he doesn't care. The Airbus A320 is a workhorse and considered one of the safest airplanes in the world. And he decides to crash it. And they're scary. They found the black box eventually, and because obviously the first thing is, well, it's got to be a terrorist attack. Well, no, it's not. Well, it's got to be this. It's got to be the windshield, bird strike, everything, whatever. When they finally got the black box the next day, they were terrified because all they heard was that 27-year-old crazy person calmly breathing as he descended into the mountain slowly. And they said it was so bad that you can only hear the screams of the passengers about 5 seconds before impact because everything's calm, everything's fine. And he slams it into the only solace the families of these souls that were lost is that they died instantly. And so I mean, you got to figure this. So here's how when you're free falling, when you're jumping out of a plane, there's a thing called terminal velocity, and it's how fast you can go. How fast can you go? And you can go faster based on body position, right? If you go belly to earth, 120 miles an hour, pull your limbs in, you're going to go faster. Gravity is, terminal velocity is gravity versus drag, okay? Peppered with buoyancy, right? That's how I simplify shit for myself, so I understand it. You go eventually the wind, the airspeed, whatever you want to call it, gets so much that you can only go so fast. So terminal velocity head down is 150 to 180 miles per hour, right? So, and you're, okay, because that's when we jump at 12,500 feet is the standard military. We generally get to fit, we'll call it 12,500 feet. As we know, 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. So 12.5 is 2.3 miles up. Terminal, I'm just getting into this because it's fun. I did write this down. Felix Baumgartner, back, I think 2010, 2011, forgive my dad, I didn't write that down, but he jumped from like 24 miles up, Red Bull, obviously, and he got up to 843 miles an hour. That's fast. But the fastest you're going to go, if you jump out of a plane, if you get blown out of the exit and you got a solid minute and a half to get right with Jesus, you're going to get up to, we'll say a soft 120 miles per hour. This pilot crashed at 435 miles per hour. European white guy, unstable. Who missed it? Why? Are we not telling each other the truth? You know what their answer was? Oh, we'll just come up with a rule of 2. That'll fix it. So the next time you're flying and the pilot comes out to use you'll notice they put the drink cart in front of the cockpit now. So because that and the my friendly flight attendant, the drink cart and the friendly flight attendant will stop the terrorists. But you'll notice as the pilot's going in to do his work in the other cockpit, a flight attendant will get in with the other pilot to keep him from slamming into the mountain. So the answer, as opposed to let's tell each other the truth, we'll just come to the rule of 2, keep flying the whatever skies. Okay, so do you love freedom? The answer should be yes. And if you said yes, here's a dumb question. Do you love bacon? I love bacon. I know you love bacon. You've heard me talk about the bacon from Moink. I got to remind you today, the best bacon on the planet. People have agreed. I've heard it a lot of different places, and I get it sent to my house once a month. I'm going to tell you in a second how to get free bacon for a year. Have you noticed, too, a lot of the talk goes around everything with meat and food and the food pyramid and lobbyists and who's doing what and whatever and what China's involved with and what they're injecting the meat with, and they'll give it to us, but they won't serve it to themselves, and what's this mean on the can or on the package or whatever. I like knowing exactly where my meat comes from, and with Moink, that place is from small family farms all across the country. And you can help save the family farm and get access to the highest quality meat on earth when you join the Moink movement today. Moink delivers monthly grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and sustainable wild-caught Alaskan salmon right to your door. Moink farmers farm like our grandparents did. As a result, Moink meat tastes like it should because the family farm does it better. The Moink difference is a difference you can taste, and you can feel good knowing you're helping family farms stay financially independent as well. And it's a monthly subscription box, and you can choose the meat that it comes with it, like ribeyes, chicken breast, pork, chops, salmon, filet, plus much more. And you can cancel anytime. You can change it up anytime. The bacon. Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary called Moink's bacon the best bacon he's ever tasted. And Ring doorbell founder Jamie Siminoff jumped at the chance to invest in Moink. And because Moink is moo plus oink, you can say, oink, oink, I'm glad I got moinked. Keep American farming going by signing up today at moinkbox.com/theoperator. Do it right now. MOINKBOX. Moinkbox.com/theoperator. And if you're hearing this right now and you do that, you will get free of the best free bacon for a year. A year of the best bacon for free. Best bacon you'll ever taste. Limited time. Moinkbox.com/theoperator. But the reason I bring this up is not for me, and it's not to hear myself talk. It's for our kids. I just had a kid. I've got other kids. They're probably going to have kids, and the issue is with the loss of belief in democracy, because, and I'm going to get into this later, believe me, I have broken this down, and it's a lot deeper than what I can get into on this episode, but what's going on is on purpose, and it's not that hard to figure out. With the open border, with the fentanyl, with TikTok. It's not with politicians being paid off, with getting canceled by social media platforms because you tell the truth. You get canceled because you tell the truth. You don't get canceled for other shit. The FBI shows up when you fly into Washington, D.C., and you're a Republican, and it happened to have been January 6th. They follow you around. It's not the open borders. It's not the drug cartels who live in San Francisco. It's the parents that go to PTA meetings that get there. I mean, there was a I don't know exactly where, but there was a pastor reading to I think the city council, the school council, reading from one of their books. And when his minute was up, the cops grabbed him. He was reading what was in their schools or in their cities or something like that. Again, my frame of reference is off, but it's there. I'll find it if you need it. If not, just go look it up, whatever. But the point is, they're going. It was a black pastor, and he was saying, "Here's what's in the books," and he gets arrested. But then you got Dearborn, Michigan, Hamas, literally saying "Death to America." Which, I mean, you know that free speech is protected until you become a threat to other people, and that's what that is. When you're saying this entire system has to go. That's what he's saying. Death to America, free Palestine. I mean, so Donald Trump said some stuff on January 6th. He's the insurrectionist. The parents are the insurrectionists. You know, where Joe Biden needs to win Michigan. Where was he when they got all those people up there saying "Death to America" in Dearborn, Michigan? They have kids up there involved in the chanting. And little kids grow up to be people, right? Little kids grow up to be big kids, as far as I'm concerned, and eventually they're the adults and they're going to do things too. That, I mean, the indoctrination is bad, but the indoctrination is not the way that we're thinking that it is. And this algorithm, these algorithms and these outside forces that are doing it because the United States is standing in the way of one world order. And it's also standing in the way, well, the death of democracy comes the rise of autocracy. So we have foreign entities telling our kids that our country's bad, and we're the only country doing that. Well, not just us. The West is doing it. The mass migration to Europe. Look at the UK. Look at Ireland. Look at France. France is gone. And who's coming in? It's the autocracies, right? It's look at the countries with one ruler. Look at Iran. They're involved. China, Russia. They're moving in, and eventually they know that people are going to move out. They're going to move in, and with getting us to hate ourselves and hate each other comes the "you can't tell the truth" type stuff. Look at in St. Louis. I mean, it started with let's reimagine police. Whenever someone says reimagine, too, you better look at their motives. Reimagine police work. Well, we have. Again, another episode. You know what's happening. Reimagine border security. Kids in cages. Reimagine. You know what's happening. The mayor of St. Louis, Tashara Jones, is blaming the store owners for the crime committed near and around the store. Well, let's just blame the store owners. Find out what's going on. Why is this company leaving this part of the city? That they're big companies. They can afford it. It's because we reimagine the police. There is no law. And people are doing what they're going to do. There's no law. Why wouldn't you take it? It's that easy. The little stuff turns into big stuff. I mean, you're blaming the stores for getting robbed? That's up in Massachusetts. There's two doctors, Sarah Wakeman and Allison Bryant. Allison Bryant's the chief health equity officer. Health and equity, man. I mean, health and equity maybe go hand in hand because I do want everyone to get the same result. But what they're saying now is they're not letting. There's an issue with babies who are born addicted to drugs. Why are they born addicted to drugs? Because their moms are addicted to drugs. That's a major issue. And to me, it seems, well, let's just tell the truth. Mom's got a drug problem. We got to get baby into detox, man. And like I said, I just had a kid. I love babies. I feel for them. Moms go through yet another episode. There was a woman that gave birth because only women can give birth. But we can't say that because it might hurt someone's feelings. You know, their mental health's not the issue. But we can't even say who the drug mom was. Not allowed to say it. And so they're not reporting it because it just so happens it's a minority woman in a minority community. There happens to be a drug problem. That's the truth. And it's one of those things that doesn't matter why. It just is. Let's help them. But you can't help them by lying. They don't want to report it because they don't want a certain group of people to have certain problems. And look, certain people do have certain problems. That's just the truth. But the kids that are born addicted to something, they're going to suffer. And the kids that we're raising now are going to suffer because as we get weaker, because we're lying to ourselves, it's not going to get better by bullshit. You have to tell the truth. Sometimes, coming from someone with a PhD and messing up, you got to own it. own it and move past it. Hopefully you don't do it again. If you do, try to own it. I'm actually going to DC, God help me, tomorrow. And again, we're telling the truth. I love how they call them lawmakers too, and I love how they always call the star-studded gala, all that crap, whatever the lawmakers. They're not that technically, yes, but we talked about the Eclipse, not the amazing song, but there's a representative who's in Texas. Her name is Sheila Jackson Lee. I think she's the one who's famous for the awesome hats, and on her behalf, awesome hats. But she went to a high school during the eclipse, and she was talking to a high school student at a podium, putting out that, the sun's a really hot spot and you can't get close to the sun, but the moon is made of gas. It's easier to get to, and the moon's another planet, and the moon's not a planet, and it's not made of gas. And that's just funny. If she didn't graduate from Yale and wasn't a ranking member on the House Space and Aeronautics Subcommittee, she couldn't even put the glasses. Watch the video. It's probably out and viral by now. Can't even put the glasses on. Doesn't know the moon's not. Here's a ranking member voting on stuff. I'm trying. It's not me falling asleep. That could still be the acid reflux from being sick and vomiting all over the place. But these are the people that take. This all concerns you, yes, because of your kids and also because of your tax dollars. They're the ones spending all your money on the shit that I can talk about ad nauseum. Speaking of eclipse and the moon, you might not know this. I found this out. It's absolutely hilarious, and I'm not making it up. Get on Seeker, do a search or whatever. And NASA just got funded through DARPA, and I haven't been able to find the number, but it's out there. And I'm not making this up. They have the funding. It was voted in. They approved it for a train on the moon. I mean, a moon train, that's real, and it's approved. I mean, we're like I said, with progress, we're getting worse. We can't even agree that we've been to the moon yet. We can fund a moon train, so that's there. Anyway, the eclipse is awesome. The joke that my dad told about the damn town pump and the gas station, whatever. I want to talk about two more things before we jet. Here's what was awesome though this weekend. I love basketball. I grew up playing basketball. I still love basketball. It's changed like everything else too. But one of the changes that I've noticed, I mean, it's a more physical game now. I think personally, I think it's a little dirtier. But you got to be better to play with the bumps. I think whatever, it doesn't matter. But the men's Final Four was awesome, and I did think Houston was going to win it, but after seeing UConn play, they're just unstoppable. Purdue looked great, but I was more excited for Sunday's game, and that was the women's national championship, and obviously that was Iowa, and they lost to South Carolina. Great game, but I was excited for that game. It was great to see. One of my tweets said too, being an NBA fan, I thought that the defense was a myth, and South Carolina unstoppable, great defense. Lot of fun to watch. I was looking forward to that game. I actually bought Girl Scout cookies from a troop, and they were excited about it. It was just cool to see everyone's fired up for whomever, whatever. But what's cool about what's happening there, if you can tell the truth, is this is pretty interesting. There's a team in the WNBA, and they're about to get more famous. The WNBA's got a team in Las Vegas called the Aces, and I had to look that up, and I've made cracks about women's basketball before, and I'm sorry. A lot of stuff, if you follow me on social media and I say something, chances are I'm just messing with you or messing with someone else. But the Las Vegas Aces, that's the WNBA team in Las Vegas, and they play at the Mandalay Bay. I think it seats about 12,000 people, right? You'll notice on July 2nd, I looked this up, on July 2nd, the Las Vegas Aces don't play at Mandalay Bay. They move to T-Mobile Arena, which is the largest arena, I think, in Vegas. And that seats 20,000 people. So they're going to sell more than 12,000 tickets. They think they're going to sell it out. Why? Well, they're playing the Indiana Fever. Okay, so two teams you've never heard of. The Indiana Fever are going to Las Vegas to play the Aces. They had to move to the T-Mobile Arena. Why? Because the Indiana Fever on April 15th has the number one pick in the WNBA draft. And who do you think they're going to take? They're taking a girl from Iowa. Her name is Caitlin Clark, and I think that's kick-ass for everybody in sports. That's just so cool. I brought that up because that was I just love. I never was really into women's basketball. I think that's cool. And just looking ahead at like this woman's about to change everything. And she's a hell of a lot richer than all of us right now, and she's still in college. That was just a cool weekend. And the second thing I brought up too is sometimes I bring up this day in history. This day in history is April 10th, and two cool things happened. One was President Lincoln was reburied on April 10th. And again, conflicting reports. We can't decide if he landed on the moon. April 10th, he was reborn in Illinois. I'm sorry, reburied. They had to bring him up. They dug up President Kennedy's body, and they actually opened it because there were like grave robbers and shit. We've had scumbags throughout history. You can look it up. You've read books. The people were trying to rob Kennedy's body or sell his corpse or whatever and his bow tie. They brought him up. They exhumed him. They opened the thing. I was reading something about it. They wanted to make sure it was him. They didn't have TikTok back in the day. They didn't have Instagram, so they opened it. Apparently, they were overwhelmed by the stench because the president had been in there for a while and he'd been dead, decomposing. And they were trying to make sure it's him. They said the only thing left on his face was like the white makeup the mortician put on there, and then his mole was there, and they recognized him by a few things there, and then they moved him up and they reburied him next with his family. His oldest son was actually the last living son was the one that did it. Buried him under concrete with his wife on April 10th. Under like tons and tons of concrete so no one could steal, and that happened. What else happened? I was born. So today's my birthday, April 10th. Yay. This is not an ad, but RJO Apparel having a birthday sale today. New shirts, by the way, take the shot. We switched up our gear, take the shot, keep it simple, fire like this. Sale today, really good stuff, rjoapparel.com. Check that out. So, birthday, Lincoln. What else are we missing? Oh, I needed to conclude with something else too, because I was telling a joke that I screwed up. My dad told me, but I said my brother told me. I did. Okay, I was thinking. As I'm talking, I'm thinking too, and I was laughing because I'm talking about a pastor, and I grew up in a Catholic school, and I've been to church. We don't have pastors, we have priests, whatever. And then I talked about how nowadays, because we're progressing, we're letting pornography into the classroom, and you're the asshole, you're the terrorist if you say, hey, we shouldn't be doing porn, whatever. And I thought something back in the day, like we were more subtle with porn, at a younger age, because I remember it. Like, I think a joke that my dad came up with was, I'll have to redo it to the times, but it's, what's the difference between a wicker basket and a wicker box? Wicker basket is what you put sweaters and towels in, and wicker box is what Elmer Fudd wants to do to Ariana Grande. So that's like a more modern, progressive version, the 2024 version of that. But 2024, it is April 10th, my birthday. Check out rjoapparel.com, and remember, all you have to do is tell the truth, and you're never out of the fight.